Moin Moin und herzlich willkommen zu einem weiteren XBoxUser.de Video. Heute zeige ich euch die ersten roundabout 20 Minuten des Walking Simulators Kona, der uns in eine kleine kanadische Wildnis entführt. Das Ganze möchte ich, weil es ein sehr atmosphärischer Titel ist, unkommentiert belassen. Nur zur Info vorweg: Ich habe die ersten 3, 4 Minuten einmal übersprungen. Das Intro habe ich übersprungen, damit ihr nur einfach mal seht, wie das Gameplay ist. Das Ganze ist jetzt wertungsfrei, soll euch nur einen ersten Eindruck ins Spiel verpassen. Und schlussendlich könnt ihr dann bei größerem Interesse auf unsere Homepage XBoxUser.de gehen und dort auch einen Testbericht mit endgültiger Wertung zu diesem Titel vorfinden. Viel Spaß mit dem Ausflug in das wetterfeste kleine kanadische Dorf aus
Carl
Kona.
had waited long enough for someone to come and raise it. Hamilton is waiting for Carl in the general store. It was time for him to get down to business. William Hamilton enjoyed a lavish country house built in the very heart of the northern forests, not too far from here. The local populace was divided when it came to the affluent man. Some saw a wealthy philanthropist dedicated to improving the region's economy. Others an aging Englishman who would do anything to further his fortunes. And those ones hated him enough to go on about scheming against him. Hamilton had recently acquired a few local businesses, but the last straw was the reopening of a mine, which gave rise to a wave of protests and threats from the Cree people. Given these circumstances, Carl reckoned that a good number of people must be feeling compelled to oppose Hamilton in one way or another. So far, only the industrialist's house had been a target, but soon enough, Carl thought, the target would become the man himself. Carl needed to get out of there. The cold and the pain required urgent care. The driver had taken off. It was still best to check it out and leave nothing to chance. Carl needed help. Carl, ever diligent in his work, always carried his log on him, in which he scribbled down thoughts and leads alike during the course of his investigations. It was so cold. Already Carl did not feel his toes anymore. Even better than he had hoped. Carl Faubert had succeeded once more, and was now on his way to new adventures. This deep in the country, his last hope was to find an abandoned garage or a farm by the roadside. His life depended on it. That was. But Carl didn't care much about flowery language. Spread out on a few acres of untouched forest, bellowing caribou, everlasting snow, and undefiled lakes, the Manistan region was no tourist hub. It was said to have been populated for millennia by Cree people, and ever since the industrial era, by the metal mining industry. The truck was running on fumes. Good thing that the general store was close by. Pumps wouldn't surrender their divine nectar so easily. In all likelihood, they had to be switched on from inside the store. Something fell to the bottom of the box. A milkman had to drive by every week to fill the bottles. The fresh milk indicated a recent visit. Carl had no trouble recognizing his employer. He had been killed. There was no need to be a detective to figure that out. But only a detective could have noticed that the killer had to have been very close, that the fatal blow had been given before the victim even realized. Carl felt a chill down his spine and had a terrifying realization. If Hamilton was dead, then who was going to pay him? An explosion suddenly occurred outside. The snowstorm pummeled everything in its path. Carl was not surprised when he heard no tone. Carl knew that Gilles Lachance was in charge of the general store. That made him one of Hamilton's employees. A very angry employee, as Carl could plainly see. The note explained that the garage and the store couldn't be supplied with electricity at the same time. Carl was no electrician, but he could identify a wiring problem when he saw one. Carl was no electrician, but he could identify a wiring problem when he saw one. Carl was no electrician, but he could identify a wiring problem when he saw one. According to that log, it seemed like the whole village owed some money to the general store. Carl was far more interested in the bunch of nearby addresses he had just gotten his hands on, though. Carl was no electrician, but he could identify a wiring problem when he saw one. Hate was in the air. Seems like some villagers barely tolerated each other.
Ja, das war's schon. Wie ihr seht, geht es in diesem Spiel eher gemächlich zu. Ob das Ganze gut oder schlecht ist, werdet ihr dann in naher Zukunft auf unserer Homepage finden. Dort testen wir das Ganze ausgiebig und ich werde euch dann sagen, ob mir der Ausdruck gefallen hat oder nicht. Wenn es für euch ein Anreiz war, kauft das Spiel, unterstützt die Entwickler und schaut auf unsere Homepage für weitere Tipps und Tricks, was es noch an interessanten Spielen auf dem Xbox Live Marktplatz gibt oder beim Games Dealer eures Vertrauens. Wir freuen uns, wenn wir euch auf XBoxUser.de oder in unserer Community sehen. Viel Spaß mit Kona und weiteren Titeln.